So, you want to grow tomato plants like this, or tomatoes like that? Stick around, my friend. I'm going to show you how I get them off to a good start. Well, good morning, guys. Welcome back to Poorboys Little Homestead /
Papaw's place.
As always, if this is your first time here, thanks for dropping in. Feel free to drop in anytime you feel, my friend. Well, good morning, guys. Today we're going to be planting out some tomatoes. Probably planting some corn. I got some peaches and cream corn here I started. We're going to plant in a raised bed. I've never started corn like this. I always planted the seed straight in the ground. But this seed was old and I didn't know if it was going to germinate, so I just put it in here and it's coming up and it looked like it's time to transplant out into the bed. So we're going to do that sometime today. But we're going to talk about tomatoes. I'm going to show y'all what I do to grow big tomato plants that's loaded with tomatoes. First though, on tomato plants, y'all see how big my tomato plants are. And mostly what we talking about today is going to be indeterminate heirloom tomatoes. Now this year I'm trying some other determinate hybrid tomatoes. But for the most part, I've always grew indeterminate heirloom tomatoes. But you want a good seedling here. And you want a tall seedling. But you don't want it tall and spindly to where it falls over. Now, if you look at some of these, and this right here on this side is a Sweet 100. This here is a Kellogg breakfast heirloom tomato. You see how good and thick the stems are. That's what you want. You don't want no tall skinny when it ain't got enough strength to even stand up. And to get that, as soon as these plants start getting true leaves on them, you got to start feeding these plants. Now you can feed them whatever you want to, because I'm one of these that fertilize is fertilize is fertilize. You just give it different amounts according to the numbers on there. A good liquid fertilizer to me is a 20-20-20. But if you like organic, then go with bone meal and blood meal and such like that. Also this year I started my plants. I was scared to use my own compost and run it through my screen because I'd put so much quail manure and chicken manure and rabbit manure in it. I was scared it was going to be too hot for seed starting. So I bought some of that Pro Mix to start my seeds in. Well, when you buy a mix like that, it don't have no kind of fertilizer, nothing to feed your plants. So you got to be on them as soon as they start coming up. You start out with a weak dose of feeding them and you feed them. The reason I always like using my own compost, guys, is because it has everything the plants need in it right off the bat. So as soon as they germinate, they start getting what they need and they'll take it up as they need it. But it looks like I'm coming out with a pretty good outcome on all my tomato plants here. Today I'm going to show y'all how I plant my heirloom tomatoes. And here you see a big Cherokee right here. That's a Cherokee Purple. And why they so tall and what I do. And why I like them that tall. And we'll discuss that when we go out and start planting it. Then I got my hybrid determinates here. I got some red snapper, some roadster, and the Hossinator. Now you who've been fighting along, you know me and Miss Lippy has got a challenge between us of who can grow the biggest Hossinator tomato. Now I've never grown this tomato here before. And I will say, out of all of my tomatoes, these indeterminate hybrid tomatoes here is going to have to really show me something after I plant them. Because as far as them germinating and growing, they just now starting to grow good. So they were slow taking off for some reason. But they making a comeback though, guys. They starting to grow, and making big heavy stems, but like I said, it seemed like I had to really go to feeding them more than I did my indeterminate heirloom tomatoes. But if you growing one of these Hossinators and would love to join along on our big tomato contest, it's all just for kind of bragging rights and fun. You can do it in the comments, or I got a Facebook page I do look at occasionally. But if people start putting pictures of their big tomatoes on there, it might would get me more into my Facebook page. But if you would like to participate in this just for fun, and you growing this Hossinator tomato, well, come on and join us. Now guys, I don't want y'all running over to Miss Lippy's channel right after y'all watch this and tell her that I'm showing y'all my tricks of how I grow big tomatoes. She don't need to know that. But tomatoes and any kind of plant is just like humans. They gotta have something to drink and they gotta have feed if you want to grow big plants and big tomatoes. Just like humans, you can live off of a can of Campbell soup and a couple of crackers a day. You can live off of that. You're gonna be on the skinny side, but you can live off of that, and probably more healthier as far as overall, but you can live off of that. And my point I'm trying to get here, you can eat that Campbell soup and that cracker and you can live off of it, but you can start eating your little ice cream at night at bedtime every night. Guess what's gonna happen? You're gonna start putting on you a few more pounds. Then you start getting up in the middle of the night and eating that bowl of cereal when you get them midnight munchies. Yeah. See where I'm going with this? You're going to get a little more healthier. But then there's a point comes like Thanksgiving and Christmas where you get in there and by George, all that food is so good and so much of it. And you just pile that plate up, sometimes has 2 plates. And you eat so much, what happens? You're miserable that night. You're miserable all day. Sometimes you're miserable the next day from eating it. So the plants is the same way. The more you feed them, the bigger the plant's going to be, the bigger the fruit's going to be. But there is a point that you can overdo it. And you can overdo it to a point that you kill it, just like a person can overdo it. And he just keeps eating and eating and eating like that Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner every day, and that ice cream at night and that cereal for that midnight snack. You're going to overdo it. But anyway, that's my point on I wanted to make right off the bat here on growing. And that's the same thing when you start your seedlings. As soon as they get them true leaves on them, you need to start feeding them. You need to start out weak and just keep inching that feed up. Some people say once a week. Well, I was doing these 2 and 3 times a week. Because especially these Hossinator and Roadster and Red Snapper, they was just getting, wasn't doing good at all to my liking, so I really had to start putting it to them. And you see how much difference they are. They was planted at the same time as all these other tomatoes. But with that being said, now I'm going to go out there and we're going to plant one, and I'm going to show y'all how I plant it and what I put in my hole at the bottom of every plant to get mine started to a good start. So y'all come on outside. Alright guys, before we continue on, I forgot to tell y'all one thing. Y'all gonna have to bear with me today. I'm gonna be doing just 1 or 2 plants at a time, which won't be strung out for y'all on video, of course. But I tested positive for the COVID a couple of days ago, and I'm still clogged up in the head and kind of weakly feeling. But it makes me feel better to get outside. So anyway, y'all just got to bear with me if y'all hear me clearing my throat a lot and such, which I always have sinus drainage and mess anyway. But right here, I'm gonna be planting one of my Brandy Wine. Brandy Wine heirloom tomato. And you see how tall that tomato is. Now I went on yesterday evening and I dug this hole so it'd be ready. I dug it with the post hole digger. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna see See, I'm gonna put that tomato way deep. But I dug that hole about 6 inches deeper. Then I'm gonna put that tomato. And yeah, that's going down there deep. That's done got down out of your topsoil, down into your clay soil. But that's what you want if you're gonna try to grow tomatoes through the summer and keep them going like I've been doing the last few years. Some of you watch me all the time, y'all notice I keep a few of my better looking plants and I try to keep them all through the year. But last year I didn't end up with no fall tomatoes because we got that early freeze in October. But the years before that I had fall tomatoes fresh to eat off the vine, still coming from plants that I planted this time of year in the spring. But what we're gonna start out with is a big cup, and I don't know how many ounces that is. It's got to be getting up there around 36 or 40, but it don't matter. This is rabbit poop. You can't put too much of it. You can put a gallon in there if you want to dig a hole and put a gallon, but I always use a cup like this. I pour my rabbit poop in the bottom. Next thing I'm gonna throw in there is about a teaspoon, and I ain't measuring this because it ain't rocket science. About a teaspoon of Gibson. Maybe a little more. Then, whatever fertilizer you like. I'm using triple 13 doing this. You can use 10, 10, 10, 8, 8, 8, 5, 3, 7, 14, 21, 20, 20, 20, 20. Y'all see where I'm going with this. Your organic, whatever your favorite fertilizer is that you think works the best for you, that's what you want to use. Again, I made the comment a while ago, fertilize, fertilize, fertilize. I got a video on, I try to remember to attach above, that you can mix these fertilizers up and come up with your own 3 numbers. But anyway, I'm using triple 13 here, and I'm gonna use a good tablespoon, maybe a little more. Tablespoon's a good start per plant. Throw it right in the bottom of that hole. Next here, old Indian man turned me on to this here, guys. This is just a pinch of this now. You only put just a pinch of it. Oh, y'all want to know what that was? Well, that's my secret ingredient. Can't tell that. No, guys, that's sea mineral. Used to, I used Epsom salt. But the old Indian fella turned me on to sea mineral because it has all kinds of minerals in it. But like I said, you want just a pinch when you putting it in under your plant like that. Now, my in-ground garden inside the fence there, this winter when it was uncovered, I kind of sprinkled some out on it and tilled it in my soil. So I ain't got to put none over there when I dig a hole. But that is sea mineral. The next thing is calcium nitrate. I put a good tablespoon of that right down the bottom of that hole. Next, you want to crumble you up some dirt because you do not want these roots sitting on all that stuff. I like to put about a good 2-3 inches in there. Pack it down. That way that plant is starting to grow, putting off roots. The reason I put it so deep, it'll start making roots coming off the sides of it up here. All them little hairy things you see, that'll make roots. But this summer when it gets dry, this tomato is real deep down in there, and that soil down in there stays moist when your top 6 inches is dry as powder. Then next we're going to set this plant way down there deep. Look at the roots around that, guys. In this bucket here I got some compost. I like putting just a little bit of that. I'm going to pinch one of them lower limbs right there off. I'm going to put a little bit of this compost around it down there deep. Mixed with some of this soil that I dug out of this hole. Pack it around there good. You don't want no air voids. And that's how I get my plants off to a good start. Yes, they'll get fed again, and that's never the same thing. It's according to what I'm doing, how much time I got. This year I'm gonna be using a lot of my rabbit manure tea when I water. Also liquid 20-20-20, or you can just sprinkle my triple 13, or what, like I said, whatever your favorite fertilizer is. I ain't trying to change you on what you need for fertilizer. Now the calcium, the sea mineral, and the gypsum, if you ain't got no sea mineral and can't come across it, put your little Epsom salt at the bottom of that hole. At least that's what I've always done, guys. Now, I want to say, I'm telling y'all this, gardening is like everything else in life. Everything can go haywire. And I may not grow tomatoes as big as I have the last few years. But that's just like 3 years ago, I had five yellow squash that I couldn't keep them picked fast enough. They made so much squash. The last 2 years, I ain't been able to hardly grow squash, because as soon as they start making squash, before the squash gets big enough to eat, the vine borers come in here and kill my squash off. But this is what I've done in the last few years. The only thing I've changed is this year I'm getting a little sea minerals and putting in there. If you look up sea minerals, and I ain't talking about sea salt, and I ain't talking about the minerals that you feed the horses. That's a little on the salty side. You can sure enough mess up with that. It's a little bit of difference in it. But it's sea minerals. But this tomato's planted. I'm gonna set my cage around it, water it in good, and I'm probably finna take a break. We'll get back over here and plant some more. This particular plant right here is gonna be caged. These cages are built out of concrete reinforcement wire. Put these canes up here and build a TP, and I run a string down it. And I wrap that string around this tomato a couple times. And I take a landscape staple like this, fabric staple, and staple that wire to the ground there. That helps the wind. Like last night we had a storm come through, and that would help that from breaking that plant off. As it comes up, I use tomato clips, clip them as it grows up. Sometimes I keep them trimmed back to 2 suckers. Sometimes I let them go wild. If you want to grow a big tomato for some reason, you want to keep your suckers trimmed off, you're going to get less tomatoes, but you'll get bigger tomatoes. And that one there is completed other than water. Guys, I'm going to show y'all something else here I'm trying just for fun this year. My brother-in-law, which has passed away, used to raise his tomatoes in these buckets upside down. Well, I got a few of them little buckets he had, and I said, well, I'm gonna try it. I really don't see the benefit in it, but I'm gonna try it. If I ain't mistaken, this is a Super Sweet 100. The only problem with this is, once it gets hot, this little fella here have to be watered every day to keep it from drying out. And I know that going into it. I got a second one set up over here. This here's supposed to be the world's smallest tomatoes. They call spoon tomato. You put about 30 of them in a teaspoon. I'm just doing that for the fun of it. But like I said, I really don't see the benefit of doing something upside down. And let me show you why. The reason I don't see the benefit of planting them in there upside down is kind of aggravating getting that plant in there and getting the soil in there. And you can see this tomato's been out here 2 or 3 days, and you see what it's doing. It's curling and it's trying to come up to get light. So why not just plant it in the top of the bucket, and still it's gonna come out, and as it gets bigger, it'll hang down. Now with me putting them in this cage and hanging them like this, see, I could train it through this wire and clip it or whatever I want to do there. I don't know the benefit of doing it upside down. If you ever did this and tell me the real benefit of it. To me, when you water it, the water's gonna run out the hole down there, and it's gonna be getting your tomato plant wet every time, which we know causes diseases. But I thought I'd just try these two just for the fun of it. Now down this trellis right here, guys, is where I'm gonna be planting the rest of my tomatoes. Well, I got 4 more spots on the back. But the Hossinators and the hybrids is all gonna be planted right here, except I'm gonna plant 1 Indian stripe on the end, toward the end, and 1 Cherokee Purple toward this end. And the reason I'm doing that is because after them determinate hybrid tomatoes is done with, and I'll pull them up, I'm gonna try to keep my Cherokee Purple and my Indian stripe going. If you watched my video last year, and train it, clip it going down that line. Then by the fall, it'll be further on down that line if I can keep them going again. Like I said, everything goes haywire with gardening like everything else in life, but that's my plan and what I have been doing. So them's gonna be hanging from strings with hooks on them, just like I showed y'all how I strung that in that cage. And I won't be pruning them hybrid tomatoes, so I can, between each of them metal posts, do the California weave in there if I need to. That'll just be determined at that time. But all these holes here, I went on about 6 or 8 weeks ago and dug them holes with a post hole digger, put my rabbit manure down in there, my sea minerals. Now I didn't put no fertilizer, I did put my gypsum. So all I got to do to all these holes is just dig them down deep enough for the plant. I will put a little calcium and cover it up and plant my plant. Because like I said, I've already put the rabbit manure down in there. I just went on and done that because this outside garden, that's still the cover on it that was last year. So I wanted to go on and get that down in there, getting that prepared. So after I go get a little coffee and catch my breath a little bit, I'm gonna come back out here, and I don't know if I'm gonna video me planting them or I'll plant them and kind of give y'all a little walkthrough after I get done. All right, guys, I done took several breaks today, but I got my tomatoes planted, and I'm gonna walk around and show y'all what we got and how we got them going. But on the outside garden here on my string trellis, and these tomatoes has got the transfer shock some kind of bad. They'll recover tonight, look better tomorrow. But the first 2 right there is Romas, and then you got the next 3, or the next one I mean is the Indian stripe. Then after the Indian stripe, you got the 3 Roadsters. Them comes from Hoss Tools. And then next we got the 4 Hossinators. That's the Sakata STM 2255, I believe is the number on them, if you buy them from somewhere else beside Hoss. The next 3 up here is our red snappers. Then we got a Cherokee, and then we got 2 more Romas. And then of course my hanging baskets I showed y'all this morning got the little spoon tomato, which I don't know if it's gonna do good. I may have to put another one in it. And then we got our super sweet 100. And there's the Brandy Wine that I showed y'all on planting this morning. And you come back across over here, We got one in that cage is a super sweet 100. Also guys, y'all see I got marigolds planted around each tomatoes. In the center bed right there, that's my honeydew delight. The one on this end is tropical sunset. I got a tropical sunset right there on that barrel. I'm gonna try that again and letting it just hang off the barrel. That barrel right there has got goldy ground cherries. And on the back fence back here, we got another Brandy Wine. Another Kellogg's breakfast. Another Indian Strike. And then another Honey Delight. Well guys, there you have it. Now my secret's out. How I grow big tomato plants with big tomatoes on them. But like I said, this is gardening just like everything else in life. I may be doing this and may not have the same outcome as I did the last few years. But if you try this and you don't have the outcome you think you should, all I can tell you is you're going to have to go take it up with that Indian. He's a Chickasaw. Yeah, that's the tribe name, Chickasaw. But I'm going to tell you something about him. He's a part Indian, part redneck, and part Chinese. So when you go up there, you better watch out, because you might get scalped, you might get shot, or you might get some little kung fu put on you. But guys, I hope you enjoyed this little video. If you did and you ain't never subscribed, please reach down there and hit that button. It don't cost you a thing, but it will help me grow my YouTube channel. Give me that thumbs up. That helps me with my algorithm. And as always, share my videos with anyone you think might like them to help me gain more viewers. But I hope y'all have a great day and a blessed week. God bless. See y'all next time.